Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small-town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Hi, this is Stacy from Shuttler Insurance Services. Come see me on the east side of the square in Sigourney for all your insurance needs.
Jim and Janice Hoyleman will be having their 50th wedding anniversary open house on Sunday, March 30th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Keokuk County Extension Office at 22400 220th Avenue, Sigourney, Iowa. Come celebrate the 50th wedding anniversary with the open house for Jim and Janice Hoyleman at the Keokuk County Extension Office in Sigourney on Sunday, March 30th. Keokuk County Veterans Affairs recognizes Saturday, March 29th as Vietnam War Veterans Day. We remember those who served. Keokuk County Veterans Affairs will be here when you need us. Find them on the ground floor of the Keokuk County Courthouse. Call 641-622-2761 or email Michelle Herman. Regular office hours are Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday 8 to 2, Wednesdays 8 to noon and 1 to 3, and Friday from 8 to noon. We remember those who served in the Vietnam War on Saturday, March 29th. Bras for a Cause 2025 is Saturday, April 12th at the Carl Craft Civic Center in Hedrick. Dinner is provided by Bubba-Q's at 4:30. There's a free will donation, plus a silent auction from 4:30 to 9 p.m. And of course, the live bra auction starts at 6 p.m., modeling by the Hedrick Volunteer Firemen. All proceeds to benefit our local communities. For more information about Bras for a Cause 2025, contact Lori Hornback at 641-777-4252. The Watch Your Opera House in Watch Your, Iowa is hosting Heartache Tonight, a tribute to the Eagles, this Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. A Heartache Tonight performance is filled with moments designed to thrill classic rock fans. With songs like Seven Bridges Road, Life in the Fast Lane, Take It Easy, and Heart of the Matter, you can close your eyes and you'll swear you're hearing the real thing. Tickets are $35. You can purchase at the door or online at watchYourOperaHouse.org. It's this Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Heartache Tonight, a tribute to the Eagles at the Watch Your Opera House.
Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. You're getting a lot of us right now, but with the NCAA tournament and going to Milwaukee, watching the Cyclones, and then with Iowa coaching hire, I just think you can't wait a week to talk about it like we do a lot of times. So special guest tonight, TJ Tassel is joining us, Hawkeye fan, basketball coach, basketball family, Diagonal originator, and then obviously his dad moved on. But back in the day, Diagonal Maroons, and resident bigger Hawkeye fan, much bigger than me and basketball. So with Ben McCollum being hired today as the new Iowa men's basketball coach, just first thoughts. You've seen Drake play a little bit, not a lot, I'm sure, this year, just because it is Drake, and we don't always watch the most of Drake, especially if you don't have ESPN Plus. As a Cyclone fan, I do, but as a Hawkeye, you don't need ESPN Plus to watch their games. How much have you watched Drake and Ben McCollum, and how excited are you, and then just the Hawkeye fan base in general, with a new coach? And maybe not your 1A, but definitely your 1B. If it didn't get done today and Beth Getz missed on McCollum, even if she was going after her number one and got it, if it wasn't DeVries and it wasn't McCollum, the Hawkeye fan base would have had a mini revolt, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I'll touch on that first. I think, the fan base has made up their mind. They really wanted DeVries, and then McCollum was always in the talking, and I think they were going to be happy with either one of those two. But besides getting a Bobby Knight or a Tom Izzo, I don't see them being happy with not choosing either McCollum or DeVries or getting one of those two. And I know DeVries was off the table, but I think it's pretty cool. It'd be for me, that would be a lifelong dream. And I know he kind of said that he was a Hawkeye a little bit growing up, and it was just kind of a dream job for him. Storm Lake guy, he's about an hour from where I live, and And I know they have a D1 recruit that was one of the Fran's. He really loved Fran. Fran came and saw him a few times this year, I believe, and maybe they'll still have a chance of keeping him, because McCollum, I'm sure, if he's on his radar, or at least, part of what he wants to do at Iowa and those things. The biggest thing with Iowa is they got to realize that, and I'm sure you'll touch at some point, or you've probably talked about it before, is, we put a lot of money into football, and girls basketball's been doing well, and they've been getting some in wrestling, and we got to pick it up with our basketball a little bit. I think with hiring McCollum, you're not having to pay out a big buyout of his contract, possibly as big as you would for a DeVries. I thought I saw he got like $6 million or something buyout for West Virginia. I just did a little reading on him, and it sounds like he has really good relationships with his players, so he can ask them to do the things he wants. He can kind of control them a little more, kind of a Bobby Knight style, but maybe more new aged. And then they talked about his pace of play, how it's going to be slower. I only watched Drake the 2 times this year. I haven't had a chance to, log in and watch him or go and see him like I wanted to. I'd love to go watch Drake once a year, if I didn't have my own kids' things to go to and all that. But he, I don't care as long as you win. And I love his players that he's got, how he does have control on them, but he also lets them play a little bit too. And then the biggest difference, I think, is they were talking about how it's going to be a lot slower pace than Fran. Well, he was quoted that, it's because we don't have the athletes that maybe a Indiana or a Iowa State or somebody gets. So we have to kind of control the pace that way. I looked in at Northwest Missouri State. He had 2 teams, one went 38-0 and one went 35-0, and they have both averaged around 83 points a game. So they're scoring there too. I think it's just going to take a couple of years, just like it would for anybody that's not been at the Big 10 or Big 12 level, to get some of those players that they might not get at a Drake. And he's going to have to learn a little bit of that rope, I would say.
I heard this, one of the people I listened to on podcasts or I was reading or whatever, that sounds like someone that the Hawkeye fans trust in everything, in Kirk Ferentz. He understands he's got to control the game, because he starts getting in a shootout with not having as good of athletes as Michigan or Ohio State. He's got no chance. But if you control it, limit possessions, and when you have a dynamite player like Bennett Sturts, if you're down 3 or 5 with 3 minutes left, you're controlling it. You are trusting him to make the right play, hit a shot, make the pass, whatever. And then you play a good defensive possession, and now you have a shot to take the lead or win the game. When you don't have the best athletes on the court, all you want is a chance at the end. You got to stay in the game. And I was listening to the NCAA tournament and everything. The recipe for an upset and Cinderella, the game is 65-55 area. You're not going to see very many upsets, 90-85, because those teams aren't going to get that many points when they don't have the talent on the floor. But if they control the pace, and I think, the one that almost happened yesterday, Colorado State and Maryland, I think ended up 72-71. So it was a little bit higher, but it wasn't the 85-90 points. You get 85-90 points, the better athletes 95% of the time are going to win that game.
Yeah. It's the old saying, defense wins championships and offense decides the margin of victory. That's what a college coach used to tell me. And, they play good team defense, and it's kind of unique how his point guard Sturts plays virtually the whole game.
And he's done that a long time. That's not just a Sturts thing. That's his point guard at Northwest.
And I think maybe it's his background, because he played a little bit himself, and I think he's basically molding a point guard into what he did and what he maybe couldn't do, but he wanted to, is the way I look at it. He was at Nyack and then Northwest Missouri State, and had success at both places there. And the biggest thing is, he's a winner, and he knows how to adjust, I think, and get it done. And the biggest downfall, the only thing I could think of would be he's only got the 1 year at the Division I level, and he's never, gone at the, and I'll say either Big 12, Big 10, ACC, SEC levels. That's his only two things he's got against him, and it's the biggest part. And plus, he's got some players leaving, and maybe he'll get a few of those to come back to Iowa. But also, I thought I heard somewhere that one or two of his players might come with him, and Sturtz included, because Sturtz has been with him ever since he went to college and brought him to Drake. And so I'm kind of hopeful that he comes, because right now the cupboards are bearing out a little bit in Iowa.
Which, when you make a coaching change, essentially you're going to have a whole new roster anyway. I mean, Iowa State lost 3 players in the portal today. None of them played. It's not nobody that I was sitting around with Iowa State fans this weekend, and I was actually sitting and talking to Kelderman's mom and dad. And then when they left, just kind of after talking with them and everything, the other couple we were standing there talking with them, like a guy like Indrisitis, who actually isn't in the portal yet, and a couple others, like I just don't see that they got to go because they're not going to play. Because you have Kelderman, the walk-on, is playing in front of all these other guys. Some of his position, but just you can see the writing on the wall. And
that's what's nice. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just in general, it's some of these guys are asked to leave too. It's they're in the portal. You played college basketball at Grandview. It's different today, but it's still they're always trying to recruit over you. That's their job. They want the best players possible. And the 10, 11, 12 on the bench should change every year, because you need to free up a scholarship to hopefully land a top 2 or 3. And then that's when you can get your 8, 9, 10, 11 deep that can play. Where Iowa State thought they had good depth this year, 8 guys that could really play. Well, all of a sudden 2 guys at the same position are hurt, and now you're playing a walk-on in Kelderman.
Yeah.
And then also just the change in college basketball where your freshmen are not ready. If you want to be a top 15 team, unless you're going to be the number 1 pick in the draft in Cooper Flagg, or you're Duke, UConn, a true blue blood that gets a top 10 player, you're not going to win games in March with freshmen. Yeah,
it's like I watched the kid at Storm Lake twice this year. My son's team played him, and we beat him once and lost once. And, I kind of evaluate players as I watch, and if we got to play him the second time, I can tell my son, hey, if you have to guard this kid, here's what I would do, and try to give him some pointers. And I think he's got to put on a little upper body muscle. He's got a lot of tools.
I was impressed with him.
Yeah, he's very athletic, and he can shoot the 3. And I think just a little bit of the physicality, especially like going into a Big Ten like that and those things. So like, I agree with you on that. It's hard for a kid to go to that level right out of high school. It'd be nice if they could be a backup to somebody and get, 7-8 minutes a half if they're that good, or, but when they got to step in and be right out of the chutes, it's tough.
Unfortunately, I think a player like him and most freshmen almost should go to a Drake or a UNI, go be a stud for a year. Yes, you're not going to get, Iowa State or Iowa might offer you $100,000 or whatever as a freshman. And Drake and UNI are going to pay you 20. Let's just use that for a number. I have no idea if those are the right numbers or not. Doesn't matter. Go make that 20. But if you have a great season and you go become all conference, now you can parlay that into 250 at Iowa or Iowa State
and
or somewhere else.
Bigger than Iowa and Iowa State,
Yep.
Not to knock either of those schools, but that's the one thing I was going to say I like about the portal.
Yep.
It's kind of like a JUCO for you.
Yep. Oh, Drake's a JUCO. UNI's a JUCO.
Yep.
It's
you can
just
go
the
and
reality
make them make it, and then possibly go bigger, or you can make it and be right there where you want to be. That's because I went junior college out of high school. Not small town kid, not getting the looks that you hope for, and I'm only 6', 6'1", somewhere around there. And, you don't get as much offers and those things, but